welcome in, everybody, once again here in the Two Guys and Beer podcast studio, the palatial estates, the studios of Two Guys and Beer podcast. Andy Beckstrom with Sean Field here for another episode as we get into the teens for episodes here. Today we're going to be talking about Two Roads Brewery out of Connecticut. They're out of Stratford, Connecticut, so it should be a good time to come along with us on that one. But Sean, back at it.
We are back at
More
it.
beers.
More beers. It's been a few weeks. We took a few week break. We're back at it here. We spent some time putting the studio together a little bit more so we can get ready to do a video podcast. So all you lovely beer meisters out there can look at our ugly mugs on the face there on the YouTube. And it's been a good few weeks to take a break and kind of catch up and reset and get some things put together to keep on rolling.
Two Roads Brewing is what we're going to be talking about today. They have the Two Roads Brewery in Stratford, Connecticut. They also do Flavortown Spiked, which I believe is mostly just like ready-to-drink mixed cocktails, is what it appears to be. But that one's a connection with Guy Fieri in that one. So, which, by the way, I've kind of realized that like our podcast is almost kind of like Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, where we try some of their food, but we're really like talking about the business more than anything.
Pretty much.
So we're kind of like that a little bit. If you ever get a chance to, there's a comedian that did a thing years ago that I thought was just absolutely hilarious. Sean Torres was on Conan, is the name of the guy. Absolutely hilarious. But he kind of goes off like his whole bit on that one is like, and why do people hate Guy Fieri in the first place? He uses a national platform to give people free business and doesn't get anything for it. But you don't like him because he looks like he drinks Mountain Dew and stuck his finger in his socket.
I think it's that bleach, blonde, dyed, spiky hair. I think that's what did it.
Right.
That kind of gives you the bad vibes. You know, that was from the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Late 90s. You know, I think it's kind of like Nickelback. For some reason, nobody likes Nickelback, but they put out bangers left and right, but nobody likes them. I think it's the same thing with Guy Fieri. It's got to be that spiky beach blonde hair.
Yeah, it must be what it is. But yeah, if you ever get a chance to look at that clip, Shane Torres on Conan kind of goes off about Guy Fieri. It's absolutely hilarious.
I kind of miss Conan. I like that show, that was good. Conan. Yeah, you know, he was pretty good.
And I liked it, especially like when he went to, was it TBS or whatever he went to? Because it felt like when he was on NBC as the late show, when he was late, then it was hilarious. But when we went to the Tonight Show, it became, nope, you have to fit within this tight little package, and it became almost awkward in a way.
Almost the audience was different at the 10 o'clock or 10:30 or whenever it came on. You know, I think that kind of maybe had a problem with how he delivered his stuff.
And then when he went to cable, it was kind of like, well, I can just be me. I can just be who I am. And I think I think it changed night and day.
No restrictions and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that was fantastic.
I wonder if he has a podcast nowadays. He probably does.
He probably does. I feel like he does. He's got something going. I'm sure he's got all sorts of stuff going on. So let's see here. What do we got here? Take the road less traveled. That's the kind of the theme or the logo, not logo. What is it? The jingle, the tagline for Two Roads Brewing. That's kind of what they have as far as their deal. Taking the road less traveled. The one that I have is going to be the Lil Heaven Crushable IPA. 4.8 by volume. I don't see any other information here on the can, but Lil Heaven Crushable IPA is what I got today.
Perfect. And I pulled out of the Two Roads pack here. It's called Jackpot Juice Hazy IPA. So you hit the jackpot with this one, hopefully. It's actually in collaboration with Mohegan Sun, which we kind of chatted about a little bit as an Indian tribe out there that owns a casino. And it says on here, everyone's a winner with this hazy, juicy IPA brewed in collaboration with our friends at Mohegan Sun.
Mine doesn't have any explanation, so yours is more fun.
It is fun. Let's see if it hits the jackpot here when we try it.
Although I'd be willing to bet, though, on their website, they probably got some information on Lil Heaven. Let's hear. Yeah, here we go. Named after a hidden room in our century-old brewery building where factory workers used to go and take their breaks during shifts, Lil Heaven Crushable IPA contains tropical fruit notes balanced with just enough malt character to make this one hell of a heavenly brew.
Perfect.
So, yeah, I guess it's got some information there.
In a secret room, they were taking their breaks.
Seems weird to me. No, this is your break room. Is it like that movie? Was it Employee of the Month with Dane Cook? Where they're like kind of. I always wanted to do that 100 years ago. We all worked at Walmart together, and we had a lot of backroom area to be able to work with. I always wanted to do that, like kind of rearrange where some of the stuff was
on the top steel up
Could have
there and go up
absolutely
there.
done that, 100%.
Yeah, that was a pretty funny movie with Dane Cook.
Mm-hmm. On their website, it's just exactly what you said on the back of yours for the Jackpot Juice.
Hit the jackpot.
Hit the jackpot.
I like casinos; they're fun.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I don't usually gamble though, so I'm not much of a. I'll go. I'm absolutely. They're fun to be around. I like being there.
It's the atmosphere, the sights, the sounds, the lights. People going crazy when they win, and
absolutely
watching people go crazy when they lose everything they have.
Sometimes that's almost more fun. The people watching is just absolutely.
It is great,
fantastic when you get there. So let's see here. Well, I suppose we got to get the first.
Crack it open. I'm
the
getting
best
a little
part
thirsty.
of the podcast.
I'm getting some cotton mouth here.
Here we go.
Hit the jackpot. Jackpot Juice Hazy IPA.
I think I got some. Whoa, kind of overflowing a little bit here. I got a little bit on our screens over here.
It's pretty good.
First couple sips.
Yeah, I do like it. The first couple sips. Jackpot Juice Hazy IPA. Of course, like I said earlier, it says hit the jackpot on the can. I think for a hazy IPA, it hits the jackpot.
Nailed it.
It kind of tastes a little juicy, almost kind of got a little bit of grape type juice flavor in it. There is definitely a juice, something in there on the palate for sure when you drink this.
Yeah, this one, it's got some tropical feel to it, but I can't put my nose on exactly what it is. But it's very, very smooth.
Yeah, this is pretty smooth too. When you smell it, you can definitely smell some sort of juice in it. Like to me, it smells like there's a little bit of grape juice in here, or grape or something. I mean, maybe there isn't, but that's just what the scent is I'm getting and the aftertaste that I'm getting.
My Crushable IPA, it's an IPA in name, but I don't really get a lot of hops out of it. It's kind of light on those. So it's if you like something with some flavor and some feel to it, but not a lot of hops, not real hoppy, this might be a good one.
It is. Same thing with this one. I agree with you there. It is not hoppy at all for an IPA.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of malt. It does the description with some malt character. Definitely get a little bit out of that. So yeah, it's good stuff. So let's see here. Stratford, Connecticut. That's where we're going.
The rich people.
Yeah.
Connecticut.
Yeah. Well, that's where isn't that the Stratford Wives? Never seen that movie. I don't
Never did either.
Let's see here. Two Roads isn't just the logo on our building, it's our philosophy. Life seems to offer up two ways to go. It just so happens we prefer the one less traveled and having some fun along the way in our lives, our careers, and especially our beers. Now for the road less traveled philosophies being brought to life in beers that we create and how we create them. That's what they say on their website. So that's kind of what their thought is. That's when, kind of where you're going from. Two Roads in kind of an old former factory that's there. Four friends that dreamed of starting it up in 2012. They foster the philosophy in the beers. In that spirit, Phil Markowski, award-winning brewmaster and 27-year craft beer veteran.
That
you know
name,
what you're talking about?
I don't know who you're talking about, but that name, that last name, what's that last name?
Phil Markowski.
What's that Monsters, Inc. movie?
Oh, Mike Wazowski. Yeah, there we go.
That's the first thing I thought, and I thought of the old lady with the glasses saying whatever.
Mike Wazowski, did you get your reports done?
That's the first thing I thought of when you said that name.
Phil Markowski, did you brew your beer?
See, now you're thinking of it too.
There we go. I can see, I can see her just right at the end there. I don't remember what her name was, but that was great. So Phil, he was a brewmaster, 27-year craft beer veteran, and created an extensive lineup that creates a unique twist on classic beer styles. Named one of the 10 best breweries in America by Paste magazine. Doesn't sound like a magazine that would be about beer. But
no, I've never heard of any paste making of any kind of beer. I remember the paste I ate in grade school out of the can.
It's true. It was probably made out of horses.
Yeah, Elmer's paste.
Exactly. Let's see here. Won many awards, including gold for the Belgian Lambic style. in ales in 2016 at the Great American Beer Festival. That's
nice.
So I went to trivia just the other day to a brewery here kind of up the road, and they were giving away different prizes throughout the course of the thing or whatever. And my niece actually won a hop passport from them that they had.
Nice.
And it's buy one, get ones, and it's something like 130 breweries or something like that, something crazy. But if you're the first one to complete all of them and turn it in, you win like $1,500 and an entry to the Great American Beer Festival, which is, I believe, in Denver, if I remember correctly. It's in Colorado. I know that much. I think we've talked about it a little bit before on some of our other episodes, but Great American Beer Festival, nice big competition, and I'm guessing there's a little bit of beer to be able to drink. So
a little.
Yeah. So that's kind of something kind of fun. But
why aren't we buying these passports and winning first place here, getting this done?
Well, so apparently, like, the same guy has won it like 2 or 3 years in a row, and he usually gets it within the first couple of months. So we're already behind.
We could do it in like 3 weeks. We can just drive to the breweries and like stamp.
And that's what I told her. Well, I mean, we're not going to skip out on the beer part. We got to get the stamp and the beer. Right. That's what I told her. I'm like,
research and development.
Exactly. R&D. We're going to write this off as part of the, what we're doing here. So I told her this it was Saturday that we were out there and came back here, and, everybody had like 1 or 2 more just kind of relaxing and talking about, the week, and we were planning the in-laws anniversary party and all the other stuff or whatever. And we're like, all right, we got to get on this thing. So we going on the North Shore. We're going to go up to Grand Marais, get Duluth, and hit like, 8, 9 breweries tomorrow. And she's like, yeah. And then they showed up here, and we just had Sunday coffee, and we didn't. But that was the plan. We were going to get, like 8 to 10 out of the way right off the bat. But such is life, like
right.
All the best laid plans. But it is a great thing. I used to have, like, not this particular one, but we used to get one probably like 3, 4, or 5 years ago, and would try to get to a bunch of them because, as I mentioned before, involved in the brewery running series. So I'm going to a lot of these breweries, which is always kind of fun. So you sign up for the run, and the run would come with one, or depending on if you signed up for like the gold or however you signed up, you might get 2 free beers as part of the registration. So if you have the 2 free beers part of the registration, and then you buy one and you have the passport, now you get 4 for the price of 1.
Wow.
Let me tell you, somebody else is driving home. Which
I would hope so.
Yeah, it isn't always bad.
Don't drink and drive, people. Yeah. Don't drink and drive.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't do that. Don't get into any of that.
That's the disclaimer for the episode. Mm-hmm. Drink responsibly.
Yep.
Friends
absolutely.
Don't let friends drive drunk.
Always bring somebody else to drive you around, because you're going to have those 4, and then you're going to want to go to another place because you still have the passport, and you got to get more places.
Yep.
So,
and the passports, buy one, get one at every place, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yep. So, yeah, pretty soon 6 becomes 8.
We should get them to let us sponsor them on our show and do a little advertisement about them. And
there we go.
Get some kickback.
I like that. I think that's a brilliant plan. We'll make this happen. I'll have my people talk to their people, and by my people, it'll be one of us.
Right.
We will talk to them.
We will talk to them. And I think they're good in like 26 states or 28 states have a hot passport.
Okay.
Like for specific states. Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't quote me on the exact number of states, but I do know you can get one for different states.
Google it right now. No, this one had, God, was it like 125 or something like that or whatever? But there's probably 10 of them that were not Minnesota. So they actually added them. And usually they're like just Minnesota. But they put a couple of them in like Superior, Hudson. I think there was 1 or 2 in like Iowa or something, because they're kind of bordering, you know what I mean? You're not, I think there was one that was kind of random though, that was in like Kansas City, but otherwise everything else was like on the border of Minnesota, you know what I mean? Like Grand Forks or something like that. So, which at some point in time, we're going to be talking, speaking of Grand Forks, Fargo area, Drecker is on the list here coming
on the list.
At some point in time, if you're listening out there on the podcast, make sure when you go to the liquor store next time, go and pick up some Drecker. And then you'll be ready for the next episode.
Perfect.
At some point in time in the future. So kind of lining that one up just a little bit. So stay tuned to all the social media platforms for that up and coming. But for now, we'll continue drinking this IPA.
And this is a very good IPA to drink. I have no problems with this Jackpot Juice Hazy IPA. Like, I would drink definitely a lot more of this. In fact, this IPA is so tasty and light that I would probably drink a few of these after I mowed the lawn for 4 hours and hot and sweaty, because it's that like light of a taste, light of a beer, not heavy and thick, and for an IPA.
Are you taking shots at Pete Coors?
Sure.
Is that what you're doing?
Yep.
Call back to an episode, earlier. So Two Roads, moving further along their website here a little bit. If you go to their website, tworoadsbrewing.com, talks a lot about what they do, a lot of what they have for beers. Their contact page, they actually have an opportunity where you can do contract brewing, which is kind of an interesting thing. They have the ability, you basically have a world-class facility and a team dedicated to make your stuff, but at the same time, they're still small townish, or at least that's kind of the thing. They're not Coors or they're not Miller. It's a different kind of deal. So if you have something you want to be able to try to expand as a brewer, you can be able to do that without having to like upscale all of your equipment. You can actually, kind of pay to be able to work that out. So kind of a little bit of a different deal with that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Especially if you're a home brewer, and you want to try to get out there a little bit or have a larger capacity to make your stuff. They actually partner with a brewery to use their equipment. That's pretty cool.
They are owned and managed by the beer industry veterans. They are the first brewery to be designed, built, and staffed to offer contract services, including craft beer, barrel-aged, hard seltzer, and RTD, or ready-to-drink cocktails. So that's kind of the Flavor Town deal where you're going to get like a vodka lemonade, or a vodka cranberry, like that kind of thing, or like a fruit punch kind of deal. So in 2020, combined production of Two Roads and the contract brands made them the 19th largest independent brewer, according to data compiled by the Brewers Association. So they've definitely expanded quite a bit with what they've been able to offer over the course of the years.
Nice.
The leadership, founded by 4 partners with over 75 years. Brad Hiddle is the CEO, worked for Labatt and Pabst.
Nice.
As their chief marketing. Yeah. That's some heavy hitters right there.
I haven't even heard of Labatt for a while. I would assume they're still making beer and they're out there.
I'm sure.
If not, somebody I'm sure owns their recipes and stuff.
Right.
But
We may have to go up to Bemidji to get it, but I'm not beyond a road trip. That's not something that is on my wheelhouse. Phil Makowski, Mike Wazowski, master brewer. Been brewing commercially since 1989. Prior to that, he was at New England Brewing Company in Southampton Public House. Won dozens of awards at the Great American Beer Festival and World Beer Cup medals, I should say. Not World Cup. He was not a soccer player. He might be a soccer player, but not that level.
Football.
Chief Commercial Officer Clem Polani worked with Brad at Labatt and Phil at New England Brewing Company, so some connection right there. Also had sales roles at E.J. Gallo, which I believe is wine. But, it's sales, so.
Sure. I don't drink wine. I think all wine is terrible. I've tried numerous red wines and white wine. I'm just not a wine guy.
After I've had a few, I'm willing to try even more. But generally, there's only about one kind of wine. Like if I'm on a cruise or something like that, like I'll have there's only one that I'll order. And it's the only one that I've built up enough taste to actually kind of enjoy it. When I go to a liquor store, I don't ever go to the wine section.
No.
I'm going to have a Sauvignon Blanc. But if I'm on a cruise, then it's like, well, that's the thing. I know I'm wearing all nice get up and I'm ordering a filet mignon. I'm going to get something kind of, instead of a Blue Moon, you don't
want a Coors Light on the table next to your filet mignon in your tux.
So it's something a little bit different. Phil and Brad and Clem, who else joined the crew? Peter Doring, Chief Financial Officer and Chief Operating Officer. Career in finance before... Oh, wow. He had a career in energy finance before joining Director, Derektor, so Director Shipyards as COO and CFO. So a little bit of a different path to get there. Everybody else has got a lot of brewing background.
Right.
But
so he goes from shipyards to energy to brewery.
Yeah, now he's a CFO for a brewery. That's probably kind of like how a lot of people... like myself, at some point I want to have a bar. I want to have a sports bar. I could do this. It'll be maybe a project when I retire. Oh, now it's here. Oh, okay. Now I have the opportunity to do that.
Sure.
So, why wouldn't you try to do that? Give it a shot. Then they have a manager of operations, Brian Hollinger. So a lot of people that are involved with that process through different leadership. Located in Stratford, Connecticut, ideally situated to serve customers and distributors through the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic area. And approximately, give or take 12 or 13, there are about 100 million people within 500 miles of Stratford.
Wow.
So Not a very bad to be able to, location to be at. They're a quarter mile off of I-95. So they're right on, easy to be able to get to and get in and out of. 56 miles to Boston. So a lot of opportunity to be able to do that. Let's hear the contract side of things. 2 large manufacturing facilities on 9.25 acres, totaling 125,000 square feet is what they have between the storage buildings and the manufacturing facilities. So that's kind of crazy, like how much they have.
225,000 square feet?
125,000.
Oh, okay.
But they do lease an additional 21,000 square feet across the street for overflow storage needs.
Okay, so those combined are like the size of a small Walmart then.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
140,000 square feet. So,
which, if you think of all of the stuff that Walmarts have in there, and it seems kind of small when you go into something like that, but if it's only beer and it's only one brewery,
it's a lot of space.
That's a lot of beer you could be able to put in there. Main building was constructed in 1911. Additions in 46 and 54. And then in 2012, when Two Roads bought it, they gutted it, cleaned it, painted it, did new floors, drainage, and electrical systems, as well as boilers and lighting. So a lot of work that they did when they first got it. And they also have Area 2, which is their innovation center. It is located at the bookends with the main facility, and it houses the pilot brewery, along with 7 100-barrel fermenters, an abundant barrel aging and fodder aging infrastructure, and its own dedicated lab. So
nice.
they have a lot going on over there.
They do.
I think it'd be kind of fun to be able to go and check that out at some point in time. Don't say that out loud, because Amanda's already like, oh, you guys are going to want to do road trip out there. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Why not?
Who's opposed to road trips? Why wouldn't you do that? Let's hear. Brewing system installed in 2012, state of the art, and use a Brommet Siemens-based system. And on their website, they list all of their details. Brew house is an automated 5 100-barrel system. They can, let's see here, up to 200,000 barrels per year, depending on product mix. So they got all sorts of different things. So about anything you would want to be able to do. So if you want to upscale or upsize what you have as far as a distributorship, especially if you're on the East Coast, this is something you'd want to be able to get in.
Sure.
That way you don't have to buy that infrastructure. You can just, all right, here's what we're going to do. If nothing else, you could do that for a couple of years while you build up your infrastructure with that influx of capital and be able to do that. So they got canning lines, bottling lines, kegging lines, and all sorts of warehouses. So lots of stuff to be able to find on their contact page. This is all stuff that's just on their general website that they have. So a lot of really cool stuff that you can find on there. So what else do they do? Well, they make good beer, by the way. Drinks.
Yeah, they do make real good beer. Again, this Jackpot Juice, if you can get a hold of it somewhere, Two Roads, wherever you live, try it. It's good stuff. Buy the mix pack. The IPA mix pack that we have here. It's definitely worth a try. This Jackpot Juice Hazy IPA, I didn't mention, is 5.8% alcohol volume. But we did talk about that it is collaborated with the Mohegan Sun Indian tribe, which is pretty interesting what they've done with the WNBA, that nobody really pays attention to a whole lot, let's be honest. But those WNBA players are highly skilled and they're very good.
Absolutely.
But Andy
tremendous ball players.
Pulled some cool stuff up about the Mohegan Sun and how they actually purchased a WNBA team and brought them up there.
Yeah, I thought at one point in time that the Connecticut Sun played at the Mohegan Sun casino. And I just thought initially, I'm like, well, it's just they have an area to be able to do that. And it'd be kind of a cool attraction for people going there in a way. It's kind of like, Vegas, you go to shows, it's kind of one of those kind of deals that this is our draw to be able to get people here. Well, that is part of it, but that's only a small part of it. It actually turns out, I didn't know this, probably maybe I did at one point in time in my life, but sometimes I drink beer and forget things. And so it actually was the Orlando Miracle that was a team when the WNBA first started. They spent a couple of years in Orlando as the sister franchise to the Orlando Magic after years of some issues with financial problems and whatnot, which I think that there was, especially early on, I think there was a lot of that with the WNBA, which is going to happen with just about any startup kind of league. You've seen that with the USFL or the XFL now twice, or what was the other PFL, or the different things that they've had.
Yeah, they just don't draw the revenue that established franchises do, or established leagues do.
And so they, kind of ran through some issues there. And so they were kind of on the verge of kind of folding up shop. And so the Mohegan Indian tribe actually purchased them. So it's actually the tribe that purchased the Connecticut Sun or the Orlando Miracle and moved them to Connecticut and then renamed them the Connecticut Sun and have them play there. So they're actually a tribal owned organization, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I remember the Orlando Miracle, like we were talking. I remember the name in the WNBA, but of course I don't follow the WNBA too closely to know that they were about to fold or they got bought and moved to Connecticut Sun. I wouldn't even have known the Orlando Miracle was around at one time until you brought it up. But when I thought about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I do remember there was a WNBA team in Orlando. I just had no clue it moved up to Connecticut, and I always have known of the Connecticut Sun. Because if I remember correctly, Lindsay Whalen was drafted by the Connecticut Sun.
I was just going to say it was one of the first couple of years that they moved to Connecticut is when they drafted her.
Lindsay Whalen played out there for a few years before we somehow acquired her. I don't know if we traded for her.
Yep, we traded for her. So that was what I was reading on here was it was very controversial even when they drafted her because they assumed that, well, we're going to draft her and just trade her to Minnesota right away, which would be a little bit weird because if there's not trade equity there, why would you just do that, for whatever? But they drafted her anyway, and she played some high-level basketball there for, it was like 6 years, I think she was there.
Was it that long? She was there, yeah.
And then they peaked and had a lot of playoff drama within their team, and, there were injuries and just stuff going on, and they started to kind of go over the edge, and so they were just like, all right, we need to kind of reset, and they traded and tried to make a bunch of different deals, to be able to fix things a little bit to a certain extent. And that's how we ended up being able to weasel Lindsay Whalen out of Connecticut.
And of course, she's in the WNBA Hall of Fame.
Deservedly so.
Won 4 titles with the Minnesota Lynx. Was a star for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Now, did the Connecticut Sun win a title with her?
I don't think that they did. I'd have to go back and check my records here.
And then with the Golden Gophers, didn't we get to the Final Four with her?
We got to the Final Four with her and Janelle McCarville. And I don't remember a single other person who was on that particular team. But
I don't either.
God, they were good that year.
And Janelle McCarville got drafted into the WNBA too.
Yeah, she played a handful of years, but she didn't have nearly the career.
No. And then she played a couple of years at the end of her career with Minnesota as well, with the Lynx.
Let's see her rise to prominence. They defeated Eastern Conference Finals, rolled on. Their run would end. They lost to the Seattle Storm in 2004.
They must have had Sue Bird back in 2004.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. 2005, they acquired somebody and had to deal with injuries. And they lost. They had home court advantage, but they lost in the finals in 4 games. In the best of 5 format.
Okay. So I thought she played in the finals with Connecticut. But like I said, I don't follow the WNBA too closely. So I can't say for certain, but I did follow it a little bit closer when she played here at the Lynx with Maya Moore and Simone Augustus. And we just dominated for about 8 years. We won 4 titles and went there, 6 times with 4 titles. That was a whole lot of fun.
They lost in an upset in the Eastern Conference Finals the following year. And then in 2007, just a dismal kind of year, but they were able to battle back into playoff position. And then, let's see here, game 1 against the Fever, they had a 17-point lead in the third quarter, which if you've ever watched an NBA game, doesn't mean anything until the last 5 minutes of the game, which is a little aggravating to me.
Yeah.
But they raced back to force overtime. It went 3 overtimes. First time that had happened in WNBA playoff history. Sun eventually won it, but the Fever won the next 2 games and eliminated them from the playoffs in 2007. So, yeah, it looks like they had a kind of a high point there, 4 or 5, and then it just kind of all fell apart kind of after things with that. And let's see here. Where did they trade? Trying to find where they traded. Yeah, 2010, they traded Lindsay Whalen. They snagged the first overall pick from the link. So that's what it was. We had the first overall pick.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Definitely worth it for us. I mean, we only won 4 titles with her, so
yeah,
perfect.
Hard to say if you got really a good return on investment with that one. So
yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, she's a Hall of Famer, so and she had Charles Barkley introduce her to the Hall of Fame too,
which is pretty cool. I love Charles
Yeah.
Barkley. That man's a knucklehead.
Yeah, he has no filter. I mean, he probably has a small one because he has to, but he's pretty filter free even when he's commentating. So
he stays within the FCC bounds. That's about it. Beyond that, not much. So a couple of things I want to mention about Two Roads here before we kind of delve off into La La Land and everything else. So one of the other things that's really big for them, the moment that they built that 100-year-old factory, they immediately decided sustainability was going to be a priority. And so they started trying to reuse parts of the factory to be able to do some of the things that they're doing. And then have now worked a bunch of green initiatives in. 2014, they added a 70-panel solar field.
Nice.
Provides high-temperature water for production needs. They preheat the brewing water and cover 100% of the heat requirements for canning, restrooms, and kegging lines. Even in winter, a sunny day yields a surprising amount of energy. So kind of interesting. They do a lot with water conservation. They use 8 gallons of water to brew 1 gallon of beer, or the typical brewery uses 8 gallons of water to brew 1 gallon of beer, which is very bizarre why that would necessarily be. Because anytime that I've brewed as a home brewer, you usually use 6 gallons for 5 gallons of beer. So I don't know what they're doing with the rest of their beer, or if I don't understand the massive production side of things. But again, that's something that Brandon might have to be able to bring to the table on that one. So it's a little bit different with that. But they only use 6 gallons for it, so they save a little bit of water that way. A lot of the equipment comes from Europe, and they use clever methods for conservation. For example, bottling line reuses filters and the water used to rinse the bottles prior to filling. So they reuse a lot of the water that's happening. And the clean in place system used to clean the brewing equipment was also another place that they save water. They capture rinse water and reuse it for the next cleaning job, therefore reducing the amount of water they need and wastewater that they're putting in the sewers as well. So saving a lot with their electricity. They have a lot of high efficiency LEDs, advanced network lighting controls. Smart LED lighting is used throughout the facility and breweries that automatically dims or brightens according to the ambient light that's out there. So it's able to be adjusted as it goes.
Automatically. Yeah, a lot of companies seem to do that now. Big corporations do. A lot of retailers do that.
Let's see here. And they have installed dozens of VFDs, or variable frequency drives, to run the pumps or motors, and it only runs as fast as needed and then shuts down when it doesn't need it. So saving a lot of energy there. Wastewater, they create a fair amount of wastewater, but it's a combination of yeast, grain solids, rinsing water, and alkaline solutions. Contains a lot of biological oxygen demand from live yeast and trace amounts of brewing minerals. So they use that to keep their bioreactor running smoothly as it breaks down solids in the wastewater.
Yeah, you need that bioreactor functioning properly. You know, you don't want that to get out of bio.
I had a little bit of that over this course of the weekend. Ooh, it was a bad day. Let's see here. A lot of steam used during the brewing process. They use that for steam boilers to be able to, try to do some heating and some of their natural gas uses. So they save some money with that and also use less fossil fuels, I guess, to a certain extent. That to be able to heat the brewery, heat the tasting rooms, and then just random elements throughout the entire building.
Yeah, what's interesting about this is it seems to be a common theme with breweries. You know, we talked about a couple episodes ago, Boulevard Brewing and out of Kansas City does so much conservation type of stuff there and renewable energies and things like that. And we talked about with the Fat Tire, you know, that beer from that brewery out in Colorado, a lot of renewable stuff, conservation, technology there. The stuff's definitely interesting. The technology and the processes go to save energy. It's kind of fascinating, kind of how all that works, you know.
Like so many different breweries, they also, there's spent grain. A lot of places will send it to landfills, but so many businesses, and I really like this, they send it to farmers. Average 500 tons per month that they send to a dairy farms,
Nice.
cattle farms of different sorts. I've seen it go to a lot of pig farmers, a lot of things like that. So
I like pork.
they do a lot of that. Absolutely. It's absolutely fantastic. I like bacon.
Bacon's good too.
Oh, bacon's fantastic.
I do think bacon's a little bit overrated. For a while there, I had this brief moment, 10 years ago, everything was bacon. Bacon is bacon. I'm like, all right, you're overdoing the bacon a little bit.
Right.
I like me some bacon.
Yeah.
But not
it doesn't need to be on everything.
My malt from Burger King. When I had the bacon chunks in there, I'm like, okay, you're getting a little...
Yeah, it's gone too far.
A little carried away with the bacon.
Let's see here. What else do they got? The last little section here, they reuse a lot of stuff. They did $600,000 worth of cleanup when they bought the building. So you think about the investment on the front side. Like you're talking about $1 million just to get the building going.
Right.
Before you even do anything.
Before you remodel it. That's just to get it cleaned up, ready to build.
Unreal. They had to clean up contaminated soil, asbestos, lead paint. With a state grant, they were able to get some money to be able to help pay for some of that and be able to renovate the building. But most of the pieces you see in the tasting room are actually from the old factory and other sources, so that way they're not just throwing things away. A, to have that history there, but also B, less waste, once again.
Sure.
So they use a lot of that. Panels in the bar and the tasting room are made from old wood from the factory that was there. Some of the wire spools on the tables are used from the old factory. Tasting rooms at Area 2, which is the lab, if you will. It has a bunch of tables that are made from wood that was reclaimed from a church that was in the area as well. So lots of stuff going on there, trying to be able to reuse a lot of stuff and being able to just try to help the environment to a certain extent, or at least I shouldn't say help an environment. I always think it's funny when people are like, oh, it's eco-friendly. I'm like, I don't know that anything is eco-friendly.
Right.
I think it's just less harmful
Right.
is more so what it is. So, they do a lot of things or whatever to be able to help with trying to be able to help the planet, or at least not harm it as much. So, yeah, a lot of good information there from Two Roads Brewing. As I mentioned, they're kind of connected with the Flavortown Spiked, which it doesn't have a whole lot of information on their website. Just shows a press release that Guy Fieri has a line of malt beverages with Two Roads Brewing. Flavortown Spiked is what they have. So,
you know what that Flavortown sounds like? That Flavortown sounds like a song. Like somebody's going to make a song and it's going to be called Flavortown.
They probably could.
Do you think so? Like a pop
maybe.
Song or a rap song or something?
I like it. We should do that.
We could
we'll
write
work
a song
on that. We'll work
Flavortown.
on that in between episodes. That's what we'll do.
And then you can sing it for everybody.
I will. I won't. I won't do that. Maybe if I have the Road to Ruin double IPA next, then I will start. Then we'll start talking about doing some singing. So
I look forward to that.
I just can't wait. So. Yeah, that's kind of the interesting. That's all the information that we have here. There's also a really good article. I won't go too much into it, but there's a really good article on goodbeerhunting.com that talks a lot about Phil Markowski, about his background and what they're doing with the brewing and what they have there. So I kind of recommend it. He spent 18 months of travel and research to be able to write a book, and spent a lot of time in Belgium and learned a lot about brewing from there as well. So kind of an interesting little read there. So if you get a chance, check that out.
Mike
Definitely.
Wazowski.
Mike Wazowski.
Are you done with your reports?
So, yeah. So that's kind of the recap of Two Roads Brewing.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's good beer. Go get yourself some Two Roads Brewing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's see here. What else do we got going on in the world of...
Since we're talking about Two Roads here, I've got Two Roads we can talk about, kind of. Let's kind of get a little political, but we're not, because it isn't a Republican thing or a Democrat thing, but it's a pretty big thing.
Might need to crack the double IPA here before we
going
get
on
too
in the
deep.
world right now that a lot of people aren't talking about, or at least mainstream media isn't talking about it, but of course all your independent news media is. Let's talk about the border wall, or border down between us and Mexico. If you haven't been paying attention, of course, Texas has been trying to secure the border themselves because the federal government is not obeying the federal law and stopping an invasion, if you want to call it an invasion, from that country. The Border Patrol is literally letting the illegal immigrants being released into the country. Now, so let's chat about that a little bit. Andy, what's your whole take on the border wall thing? I'm glad Texas is doing what they're doing. Arizona joined. 27 other states joined to send resources down there to stop this because the Biden administration is not. And again, this isn't a Republican Democrat thing. This is just basic law versus not law. The law says legal immigration is illegal and you cannot do it. But the administration running the country doesn't want to do anything about it. So I'm proud of the states that are doing it. But at the same time, we need to have some sort of reform through Congress and the Senate to like these people that want to come to this country and do it legally. It needs to be a quicker process.
Yes.
You know, these people can't sit on these lists for 8, 9, 10 years to try to come here and have a better life. We need to get people processed through a judge and get them documentation so they can work and pay their fair share of taxes like the rest of us so they can come here and try to survive and live a good life like the rest of us.
And that was exactly what I was going to say, that again, not making it, into a political thing to a certain extent, just a welfare thing, and even a welfare just of the country in general, is you got to know like who's getting there. I mean, businesses do background checks. Everybody does something like that. It doesn't have to be something where we're taking 5 years to be able to do these background checks. Granted, it's a little harder when you're going to countries that don't have the proverbial infrastructure to be able to track some of that stuff. So it does make it a little more challenging. But at the same time, I will 100% concede to anybody that complains about it, the point that you're making, that the process is about as cumbersome as it could possibly be.
It takes forever, yeah.
If it's something that, do I think that there should be people just streaming freely? I do not. No, we don't have that even coming from Canada. I'm not people are running away from Canada, but we still have the same thing. We still have border protection. We still have, if you're like, there's, at one point there was a thing on CBS Sunday Morning, because yes, I am an old fella and I do like watching CBS Sunday Morning, but there was a bus that would actually have to go to, I believe it was like the Northwest Angle or something, which is like, you got to go there either by water or through Canada to be able to get there. Yep. But they would have to stop at a phone booth, call in the names of all the kids who were on the bus, and then be able to proceed and then do it again before getting to the school. And so it's something like that we have all of these things in place if it's done the right way. And that's the biggest hang up, is that it should be done the right way. And people should have to be able to go through some sort of process and be able to get all of these things, because they're getting all of the protections and all of the things that are beneficial about being in this country that we enjoy. But at the same time, they're skipping like a lot of the things. And granted, do we lose all of our rights when we do something illegal? To a certain extent, but you're still extended, a bunch of rights when you're in jail and things like that. And we can get into all of the political discussions about that. But I will 100% say, I truly believe that there should be, whether it's a wall. I guess I don't care if it's a wall or something, because you can always get around a wall. You can dig, you can go over, you can
cut them,
take a boat around the edge. There's so many different ways to be able to do that. People have been coming from Cuba in barrels for
makeshift rafts.
So there's always going to be a way. But I don't believe that it should be just completely wide open. However, I do think that the process needs to be fixed. It should not take years, especially if somebody has a legitimate case for some sort of persecution, whether it be family or my family just happened to have a section of land that the cartel was moving in, and well, they killed my husband by lopping his head off, and, they gave us one chance to run, and so we took off.
Right.
That might have a little bit of a case. Instead of throwing him in a cage, let's try to expedite some of that. How do you do that? I don't know. That's part of why I don't run for any political office. I don't have the answers. I identify that there's problems, and I think that it should be fixed.
The problem is both Republicans and Democrats, they can't agree on anything. They always vote down party lines. Nobody crosses the aisle to make a common sense solution to something. Like, the immigration reform needs to happen. It needs to happen quickly, and people just can't wait that long to become citizens. If anything, give them work visas so they can work, and pay taxes like everybody else. It's just not that difficult. But, politicians seem to make everything difficult, Republicans and Democrats alike.
Every single decision in the end by a politician is made for political reasons.
Oh, they all are.
And I think that I'm not. I'm not.
It's not supposed to be. That's the problem.
Absolutely, and that's what it kind of makes me. It reminds me a little bit of a what was I'm trying to remember the exact quote, but again, if we're talking into politics or whatever, I'm going to fall back on the West Wing because that's my level of politics, is, TV show. But at one point in time, they made the comment that politics gets in the way of actually accomplishing anything. If you want to be able to accomplish anything, you take like 14 people that are Republican, 14 people that are Democrat. If you want to, it's independent, whatever it is, you lock them in a room with all of the issues, and nobody gets to talk about why they voted a certain way or what they voted for. They just make the decisions and come out as a group and say, this is what needs to be done, or this is what's happening. And it can't be politicized. And that's the only way you'd be able to get anything done. Now, is there any chance that's going to happen? Absolutely not.
It'll never happen.
But at the same time, like, that's one of the things. You can't make, and I feel like at one point in time in my life, you could get stuff done. You could do those things. It was very political, but you could still get things done.
Slow, but things happened. Yeah.
But especially within the last probably 10 plus years, you're not, if you say that you're a Republican or if you say you're a Democrat, people will question you about all the things that you believe and stuff like that. And then you are not deemed worthy because you are not Republican enough, or you're not Democrat enough. Yeah. And you can argue with me if you want, but look at what is happening with national elections. That's what's happening right now.
Isn't that something too? Yeah.
And it's like, if you can't get somebody that can bring people more to the middle, we're never going to get anything accomplished. It's just not going to happen. You're going to have to wait until one side has the majority. And we're starting to see it now where it's one side has the majority and then they fix everything that half the people want and mess everything up that half the other people want. And then it pendulum swings to the other side and it's a clear majority by everybody for the other side. And the same things happen on that side. And then it's just bickering back and forth.
And then the problem is the majority versus the non-majority is so slim. It's like 52 to 48. Yeah. 51 to 49. So it's not like it's a massive majority or a massive minority of voters. It's almost 50-50. It's pretty crazy.
Which is why it's always mind-boggling to me that when we're getting somebody that's going to be, again, Democrat, Republican, whatever, they're going to be the, quote, nominee of something. We're still picking somebody that has to be so extreme on the edge of that because we don't want them to try to agree with anybody. We don't want that. We don't want that party to come over here and try to dictate what we're doing because then you look soft.
Right.
And it's like, okay, if it's 50-50 and you're not willing to acknowledge the other side, then you're just a moron. And I will put that on a bumper sticker right now. Like, that's just, I just don't understand it. And I can't wrap my head around that. And I don't know. It's part of why I've hated politics forever. I just don't want to be involved in it because it's just drives me insane.
It makes everybody mad. And there's so much of it that's common sense stuff on both sides that both have good common sense ideas, but neither other side want to come to a resolution. Like the border wall thing and processing immigrants faster, that needs to happen. We need to have a wall, I do believe. We just can't have hundreds of thousands of people coming over every month. We just can't support it. The sanctuary cities now, New York and stuff, are coming out complaining because they can't support them. Well, no crap. We just don't have the resources to support hundreds of thousands of people coming over constantly. But if we have a wall to slow it down, but process people faster so we can give them a spot to go and papers to get jobs. And
there needs to be social services available to be able to get them
up and going right away.
Yeah, if you're just like, okay, you just breeze right on through and now we're going to dump you in Santa Fe with... You're now on the street. Now you're homeless.
Bye.
It's not easy to become unhomeless, and that's a whole different argument. But it's not easy to get out of that because even just going to a job interview, okay, well now you don't speak English, or even if you do, maybe it's a little bit, and you're dirty, and you're wearing the same clothes you've had on for 3 months,
right?
And they're ripped and torn, and maybe even some blood on it from stuff you've gone through. And now you're trying to be able to have an interview. And granted, this is for like pushing carts at Walmart or something like that. But at the same time, what are the odds you're going to be able to get something like that?
Right, it makes it tough.
And then if you do that, does that help get you somewhere? You know what I mean? Like the process to be able to advance yourself in a way to be able to make yourself sustainable isn't easy. It's challenging. You can make the argument whether it should be or shouldn't be, but it's not easy. Especially when you're fleeing to a different country, it's that much more challenging. And there's just not the structure available for it.
Right. And what's really
you're going to keep me talking about this. I'm going
to open another one. And what's really disappointing about all this, and how we can't process immigrants faster, but we can't have them flood across, so we need a wall. Who's taking advantage of this is the cartel. They're making hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, charging these people, saying they'll bring them across the border. And they do for $8,000 a head and $10,000 a head. I've even seen videos online of the cartel on the other side of the wall, like giving a salute as they let people go through the gate, Mm-hmm. I'm thinking how many women get raped along these journeys when you have tens of thousands of people trying to come, and how many have died. And child trafficking, that's huge, but nobody ever wants to talk about child trafficking, which is not even child trafficking. We'll call it human trafficking, or a better term for it that's not politically correct is slavery, because that's what it is. Because you can still buy slaves today. If people aren't aware of that, you can go over to the Middle East and actually buy one on a market today in 2024, which doesn't ever seem to get talked about, but that's what's coming across the border. Is women are getting raped and kids are getting trafficked. It's crazy. Like, we need to stop that. Not have this notion of an open border, so it'll stop the cartels from bringing people over. But if we can actually get people processed quicker, if they come here through a legal checkpoint quicker, so we can process them faster, that should hopefully eliminate the horrors that some of these people have to go through just to try to get here and try to have a better life.
Even mitigate just a handful of it. If you can lessen it.
Do something.
It should be processed. There's enough wealth in this country to be able to do some of these things. And I understand that means more taxes and more financial burdens and whatever you want to say.
Spending the money properly, because the government doesn't spend money properly. The money is already taken and exists. They just choose not to spend it properly.
Yeah, that's a flat out fact right there. Yeah, I don't know. I spent time in Florida walking around at different places over there. Let me tell you, there's some money available.
Sure there is.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's a good thing this one's a double IPA.
That's really all I got about that. I just thought it kind of tied in with Two Roads. There's roads down there, one on this side of the wall, one on some of that side of the wall, depending on where you're at on each side of the river. But seeing it on the news and social media, like, it seems so simple for most average Americans to figure this out, but why our federal government isn't doing anything about it when it is the law? They're breaking the law. You got states that are trying to enforce the law. You got politicians, senators, and congressmen that don't do anything about it, barely put any bills forward. It's pretty sad all the way around. It's kind of heartbreaking. This is supposed to be the greatest country in the history of Earth. And we're dropping the ball, man, hardcore.
Power's a hell of a drug. So, and if you come out with a political stance that's not popular, you lose that drug.
Money, power, greed, it's crazy.
So it's a hell of a thing. So
all right, I got a fact for you. You want a fact? Now
I got another fact for you too, but I'll let you go first.
Disappointing political. Well, it wasn't really political talk, just kind of common sense stuff. After a couple beers, we can figure out solutions to all this stuff.
We've talked about that before. Yeah. We were going to have an app for how to respond to your wife or something, didn't we? We were going to do something like that.
That would be cool too.
That was probably a terrible idea.
Ideas only get better with more beer.
Absolutely,
they're never bad ideas. All right, so here we go. So here's the crazy fact I came across the other day. If humans could jump like a grasshopper, grasshoppers can jump.
That'd be aggressive.
Think about it.
That would be aggressive.
Humans could easily jump the length of an entire football field if we could jump like a grasshopper.
That's unreal.
Can you imagine jumping 300 feet, 100 yards?
I could imagine jumping it, but I think that my knees would say no because the landing, I'd have to superhero land. Like,
can you imagine seeing some human just flying through the air? Oh, here we go.
Oh my God, that'd be unreal.
Kind of reminds me of that movie Jumper. You ever watch that movie Jumper?
Jumper, yeah, that was. It was
leave here and appear here.
It was kind of an interesting concept. I feel like it was kind of a little bit weird the way that they did it, and I guess I'm not the biggest Hayden Christensen fan, but that was a pretty solid movie.
Decent movie.
There was a little bit of Sam Jackson in that one too. Yep. Yeah, that was pretty good. Pretty good.
What fact you got over there?
Did you know?
I know lots of things.
This almost seems low.
I'll know a little bit more after another drink of this.
This pertains to that even too. It almost, in a way, seems a little low to me, but I guess I don't have any frame of reference. At any point in time, 0.7 of the entire world's population is drunk.
That's hilarious. That is the coolest fact I think I've ever heard.
So just in case you wanted to know,
0.7% of the entire world's population is drunk.
There's a part of me that feels like it's almost a little bit low, just because at any point in time, I mean, I guess I don't know how many people would be drunk in the Twin Cities right now because bars are open or whatever, but we're getting closer to the where we're recording the podcast. We're getting closer to, 9, 10 o'clock or whatever. At some point in time, it's going to be 9, 10 o'clock in another time zone,
right?
And that's going to kind of travel the world. So is that 1% of the population where the time zone is? Like
on a Monday?
Well, I don't know. We're not taking that. Yeah, I would like to know this information on a Saturday. Friday, Saturday stats are a little bit different.
Oh, that's a great
maybe that's where I'm thinking.
I don't think you'll be jumping the length of the football field if you're one of those 0.7% of the world population.
No, it might be one of those, like a foosball football field, like something like that, or maybe one of those, what was the old, you plug it in, and it vibrated the little plastic guys all over the place.
The football guys. Yeah, I forgot about
something like that. Like that's probably more likely. So
perfect.
Well, we hope you enjoyed today's podcast. A little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of some other stuff on it. So definitely like, share, subscribe. Check us out on all the different platforms. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your enemies, tell whoever it is. Tell that person that just really doesn't like us or really doesn't like beer. Just have them, just check it out for one episode. Let's just get some listeners here, get some people out there. So we definitely appreciate that. If you have any feedback for us, though, lots of topics that we covered. We covered a lot of Two Roads. We covered a little bit of immigration. We covered a little bit of double IPA. We talked about how many people are drunk on the planet. If you have any opinions about any of that, definitely reach out to us on the old social media as well. And we appreciate all of that and all that you do for that. So, Sean, anything further?
No, thanks for listening, everybody. I really appreciate it. And God bless you all.
And until next time, this is Two Guys in a Beer Podcast. Cheers.